Welcome to Codex History of Video Games. I'm Mike Coletta.
And I'm Tyler Osby.
And today's a good old-fashioned mailbag episode.
Mailbag. Do you remember on like the History Channel when they used to do Mail Call, that show?
R. Lee Ermey's Mail Call?
Yeah.
Oh, do I remember?
That's what we're doing right now.
We are. We're putting on our real intense drill sergeant voices, and we are making this mailbag happen.
Mail Call!
You know what my favorite thing about R. Lee Ermey is? Real quick tangent, because it's a
What is
mailbag
it?
episode. His role in the movie Saving Silverman.
Oh, I've never seen that movie.
Oh, that's a movie that probably didn't age well, like most early 2000s comedies, but I loved it because it had early Jack Black in it, and it was absolutely absurd. It's a great movie in that sense. But yeah, he's in that movie. Fantastic role for R. Lee Ermey. Okay. Ready to do this mail thing?
Yeah, we're ready to do this mailbag episode. So this week we're reading emails. We're taking a break from our book club of Console Wars by Blake J. Harris. Pick it up, read it. It's great. And I guess we'll just jump into some emails then, huh?
Yeah, and these first couple emails pertain to our question from the very navel-gazy Codex History of Video Games, the video game episode.
Yeah, wow. Okay. The first one here is from Will. He says, "Good morning, Mike and Tyler. I enjoyed the Insider Baseball heavy episode on making the definitive Codex game. I think the final boss should riff off of something like Nemesis in Resident Evil 3, but it's a trippy dream sequence where Toby transforms into someone's mom trying to get you to pause your online game or answer the phone with dial-up internet, and you have to stop her without resorting to violence, maybe through dialogue checks or skill checks. Then she proceeds to chase you for your indiscretions, and you must escape. That way, it still emulates a shooter genre, survival horror, but it also is completely absurd to keep that E for everyone rating. P.S. Is Joel from Texas the same Joel from The Last of Us? Asking for a friend." I don't know. You'll have to ask Joel from Texas. Joel sent us an email. Yeah, it's probably the same one. Yeah.
Probably it. I think this is great. I also think that it covers survival horror, which we didn't really cover in our genres. And that's huge now. So that's important.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. I'm trying to picture Toby transformed into someone's mom.
I like to think it's just Toby wearing... I don't know what Toby wearing like a mom.
Mom jeans.
Mom jeans. That's got to be it, right?
Yeah,
little high-waisted mom jeans. But he's still Toby because we love Toby.
Yeah, and he's still hopping up on the keyboard and stuff.
Yeah, really, it would be him just constantly accidentally turning your computer off because that's really what Toby does.
Gosh, I gotta kick him out of here every time.
It's amazing. I love him. All right, great email. Thank you, Will. Next one. This is called Your Final Boss. This is from Rude Days 93. Hey, Mike and Tyler. Having listened to your podcast since the beginning, I can't really think of someone who could really be your perfect enemy, so I came up with another idea. The one thing, in my opinion, your game was missing was that villain mascot, like your Bowser or Dr. Eggman. So I was thinking the villain could look similar to the character Bill Cipher from the Disney show Gravity Falls. I Googled that, by the way. He looks like a pyramid with a top hat and one eye.
It's like Mr. Peanut as a pyramid in one eye.
Exactly. Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
And it goes on to say, I was thinking she should look more like a video game logo that would look very familiar when you find out who her identity is in the final game. So, the villain's name would be Stella, which also hints at her identity. And she would just be causing all sorts of mischief for the other players in the game. So when you finally face her at the end, she reveals her true identity, changing her logo to the Atari logo because her name Stella was the code name for the Atari 2600 console.
Wow, well done.
This is good. And her origins and goals are basically she believes gamers have abandoned her because of the video game collapse in the 1980s, and she wants revenge by ending all video games and gamers, and her help during this final fight will be the ghosts of consoles past, like the Ouya and the Wii U and the Atari Jaguar and the Lynx and the Sega Saturn, like other forgotten consoles.
All these consoles that like have a bone to pick and want revenge.
Exactly. And how she does this is how does she plan to end all video games and gamers? With a time machine, of course, where she will go back in time and stop a certain event. During this epic final boss fight, the player does get a chance to reason with Atari, much like in Mass Effect games. But it'll be too late, so Atari will send the player back in time to the year 1976 in New York City, where the player has to make one pinball shot To save video game history, please listen to Codex History of Video Games episode to understand this last part. Well, that is a reference to the pinball court case. Remember that?
Yeah.
Love it. Sorry
Wow.
for going on long, but the more I thought about it, the more I added it, and it got sort of out of control at the end. But anyway, cheers to more shows from Rude Days 93. I didn't think it went on too long. I think it was perfect.
I love that. That's wonderful. Get a team on that stat.
Get some other consoles that were forgotten in there, you know?
Oh, yeah. The Ouya is a really good choice. Oh, you can fight the Phantom of the Phantom. Do you remember that console that was supposed to be a PC in your living room, but it never happened? But it like was hyped up forever and just never came out?
Never came out. Yeah, there's so many forgotten consoles like this.
Yeah.
I mean, would you include the 3DO in this case?
Yeah, I think I would. And probably the Virtual Boy.
Virtual Boy. Oh, poor Virtual Boy.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of people taking Virtual Boys, though, and like home hacking them to make them useful. I think it's kind of cool.
You like what can you do that's useful with a Virtual
And by
Boy?
useful, I mean they actually play games without making you sick. That's what I meant to say.
Okay. How?
Yeah.
But how do they do that?
I think there's something involving like using modern technology for like the tracking and stuff. So when you look in them, you don't feel ill. I don't know what they do exactly, but they change some things around, or they just straight up put it on a screen. So you just play the Virtual Boy games like a console. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Or can you play are there any like Virtual Boy virtual console games for the 3DS? That seems like the perfect.
That would be the perfect place for it if they did that, if they wanted to remember that piece of Nintendo history. But I have a sneaking suspicion Nintendo wants to forget.
Well, there were only 13 games, I think, for the Virtual Boy, something like that. So, there's not a whole lot of content there.
That begs an interesting question. Which system had the least amount of games? Who had no games truly?
Which system truly had no games? It might be the Virtual Boy. 13 games is pretty low.
That might be the lowest for a console.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I feel like that's a good discussion question at some point. And by discussion, I mean we just Google the answer. Okay. This next email is from Mitch called Nostalgia. Do you want to read this one?
Sure. Mitch says, "Hey guys, just wanted to let you know I started listening to the podcast recently. It was recommended from a friend and I'm loving it so far. Your friend has great taste. It's been a trip down memory lane listening to all the old episodes, remembering my Genesis, Game Boy Color, and PS1 days. I started listening to the Final Fantasy episodes, and they're fantastic. But it made me remember about one of my favorite JRPGs growing up called Legend of Dragoon, which had 4 discs. Anyway, very unique game that had something called an addition system, which essentially allowed you to hack and slash enemies until you completed the move or combo. So cool. Keep up the amazing work, guys. 5 out of 5 stars, and give Toby some treats and a belly rub from me. Mitch." I'll give him some treats. He does not like belly rubs.
Really?
No, he will attack you if you rub his belly.
He's like, you can touch me anywhere else, but do not touch this belly.
He's not one of those cats that will be like, please rub my belly and then attack you when you do it. He pretty much does not like his belly touched.
Well known that his belly is off limits.
Right.
That's a
Luna,
shame.
on the other hand, she loves belly rubs and will force you to give her belly rubs.
I mean, you touch her head and she just flips over and she's ready to go. She wants a belly rub.
Yeah,
I love
she's
Luna.
real big into belly rubs.
And Toby and Nim. I mean, we all love them, right?
Yeah. Nim's great too. She's been a lot more snuggly lately.
If you don't love Tyler's animals, why are you even listening to this podcast? That's what I'm going to say. Is that too strong?
That's pretty strong, but fair.
Fair, I think. Fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
Didn't we talk about Legend of Dragoon like in passing with another email? I think someone else mentioned this game.
I think so.
I feel like it's worth jumping into here.
It's one that comes up a lot when we're talking about JRPGs and like our favorites, and we talk about like Final Fantasy games and like, but the PS1 had a lot of sort of like obscure is maybe not the right word, but like lots of different kinds of JRPGs. Like there's like Legend of Dragoon, Legend of Legaia, lots of Legend games. There's the Wild Arms games too. Those are like really not, I don't know if they were really popular, but those are some of the more popular like JRPGs that were on the PS1. And I haven't played a whole lot of them. My RPG experience on the PS1 is really limited to Final Fantasy games and a game called Azure Dreams, which was pretty cool.
I think you talked about that before on the podcast.
But I haven't played it a lot, just a little bit. I got it in like some like friends of friends' parents or something were getting rid of a old PlayStation, and they were like, "These kids like video games. Here, have a PlayStation." And there's a bunch of games in with it, and that was one of them.
Play the obscure. It's not even that obscure, realistically. The JRPG game that I remember playing growing up was on Game Boy Color, and it was Golden Sun.
Oh yeah.
I was very into Golden Sun, and then I let someone borrow my Game Boy Color and they lost it. So I never got to finish Golden Sun. Yeah. Kind of tragic.
Very tragic, yeah. You should boot up an emulator. Let's play some Golden Sun.
Honestly, I'm about to just go try to find a Game Boy Color, like the exact same purple colored Game Boy Color I had growing up, because it was dope.
I thought you were going to say, I'm about to go find this person and make them give me my Game Boy back.
I remember the person, but there's no way they still have it, And how much of a crazy person would I look like if, what is it now, 24 years later, I go and I message them on Facebook like, hey, where's my Game Boy Color?
My Golden Sun game.
Golden Sun and Mario Golf, the good one where it was like an RPG. You have those. You lost it. And I remember, and I'll never forget Patrick. That was their first name.
Dang, Patrick.
Yeah, I'm upset still. Okay. I have a lot of weird memories with losing video game consoles like this. So it's interesting.
You gotta stop giving your video game consoles out.
I learned a valuable lesson, and that is I will never let someone borrow a console. I'll let them borrow a game. Maybe if you're like in my close circle of best friends, like that I always talk to,
Sure.
Like I would let you borrow a console, Ty, is what I'm saying.
Thanks.
Not like I need to, because you own every console, I feel like, but still, it's like, I'm not going to give it out to just a friend of a friend like I did. I made that mistake. I got burned once. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This next email is from Jeremy, and it is titled Feelings. Hey, Brosifs, finally caught up to the 2022 and heard my email read, and I was super stoked to the nines, and so I wanted to write again and ask some questions. What game stories, once beat, hit you in the feels so much that it made you just stare at the screen with such deep feelings it took some time just to turn off the game and made you feel real emotion of loss once the game was over? I can name a few. This is still him talking here. The end of Arthur's story in Red Dead 2, the final scene in BioShock Infinite, and the final ending of Nier Automata all hit me hard and made me miss playing these games once done. Also, speaking of Nier, haven't heard it mentioned on the pod before, so wondering if either of you had played it. Also another gem from the PS2 era, the dot hack games. All your spider butt are belong to us, Jeremy.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Do you have a game that you love?
I can answer this question. Yes, big time. Metal Gear Solid 3, the ending makes me cry. Tears fall from my eyes. Like, it's not just like, oh, I'm really sad. Like, that game makes me cry. BioShock Infinite was really good too.
Yeah, Infinite was one that got me for sure. And definitely Arthur's story, when you realize what's going on, kind of because they foreshadow it and you realize what's going on, and you're just like, oh man. Yeah. This is like, it's a true hardcore Wild West death when you think about it. Mm-hmm. It's just so intense.
Yeah. I need to play Nier Automata. That's one that I've been meaning to. And it was in the news recently because there was some that, like, did you hear about the Nier Automata news that was happening?
No,
recently?
What is it?
So this guy posts like this video of like, oh, I found this hidden room. Has anybody ever been here before? Like, what do I do in here? And this is a pretty popular game that like people have basically seen everything in, right? And there's a whole bunch of people like, nobody's ever seen this before. Nobody knows how you made this room open. What the heck is this? And there's like a boss in there. There's like a bunch of stuff. And they're like, what is happening? How is this like this a new thing? Did the developers like put an update out? Did it like they couldn't figure it out? And spoilers, it turned out that the guy had modded the game. But before that, it was kind of thought that you couldn't mod the game in that way. Like the tools didn't exist to mod the game that much. That's why the like people who were such big fans of this game like just couldn't figure out what was going on here. And then the guy was like, yeah, these are my new modding tools. And then I think he probably released them out and we're like, cool, everybody, we can like make new bosses and stuff now. But there was like this mystery of this guy like getting further and further into this mod that he made while playing it off as if it was like new content that he found.
I love that, honestly. That's genius marketing too.
Yeah. Well, it makes me want to play the game, and it's on Game Pass, so.
Yeah, I saw it on there. That might be something we jump into here.
Yeah.
For Jeremy. The other game that hit me in the feels was the end of Titanfall 2.
I need to play that.
It really hits you right in the feels.
Really gets you.
There's also this moment and this is going to be very obscure, in the middle of Red Faction 2, where one of the heroes dies, and it's just so well done. It was just like, as a young boy, I was like, man, like, yikes, that hit me hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh,
When they do a good cinematic and that you still remember, I mean, what, 20-something years later? That's pretty solid. Good job on you, Red Faction 2. Good job.
Aerith dying in Final Fantasy VII, spoilers. That's a good one.
Man, there's some real good moments. I mean, there's also some twists with, and it didn't like make me cry, but like the twist in KOTOR, and that like that's really great. Like this, some real solid storytelling going on.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, if we're going to talk about it like we always do every single time, Cade's death in Destiny 2, that was really well done too. That was really well done.
Yep. We all knew it was coming. Like it wasn't a twist or anything. It was like played up in the marketing for Forsaken, but it still hurt.
Yeah. If you have, this is a great question. If you have feelings from video games, you should message us or send us an email at codexhistorypodcast@gmail.com because we want to know. This is a great question, Jeremy. Thank you.
And also, I've been meaning to play the .hack games someday, but I haven't yet. They're very expensive now, I think. I'm
not very familiar with those at all.
They're a JRPG, but they take place in like an imaginary MMO, like the MMO that's in this world. So you are playing an MMO, but not with other people. It's like a simulated MMO. It's very weird. It's like a game in a game, you know?
Oh, I'll Google this. There's a game called Crosscode that came out that kind of does something like that too.
Yeah.
And that was on Game Pass, I think, for a little bit. I don't know if it might still be on there, but yeah, it kind of has a similar, like, you're a game within a game kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, this is a really good email. Thank you, Jeremy.
Yeah. Okay. We got another email here from Joel from Texas.
That's right. Is he going to reveal his true identity?
We'll find out
right now on Codex History Video Games.
Howdy, y'all. It's Joel from Texas again. I have finally caught up with the podcast. Sad day, but of course, I don't mind rewatching your podcast again. Every episode is gold. And first off, I think that for Codex, the history of video games, the game, you could have emailers as sort of summons to help you get through levels, like Matt from Japan, for example.
That's a great idea.
Matt in Japan is definitely a summon in this game, for sure.
Oh, yeah. And he just pops in and corrects my Japanese and then destroys an enemy for you. That sounds perfect.
Yep. Just wanted to add my own idea. Now, I have 3 suggestions for episodes, all stuff I find very interesting. My first suggestion, which is sort of related to Paradox interactive games. I just really love playing and hating them. But also stuff y'all have talked about before. Game mods and ROM hacks. To use an example close to home, Paradox games have a very rich modding scene. Like Kaiserreich for Hearts of Iron 4 and After the End for Crusader Kings 3. And Minecraft mod showcases were my jam growing up. I would also love to learn about all sorts of mods, and I know some could use their own episodes. Team Fortress and other games that spawn from the Half-Life ones are big ones, duh. And I'd also like to know what a Kaizo is. My second suggestion is Sid Meier's Civilization. I love to play Civ 6, and I know people love the older games as well. I also noticed that Sid Meier's name appears in several other games, so maybe a series on Sid Meier would be appropriate. My last suggestion is my childhood game series, please do not judge me, Five Nights at Freddy's. Yes, I am a young lad. I just love how this one man, also from Texas, went from being a dollar store general/general cashier to the creator of a very successful indie game franchise that has even managed to cross over into the mainstream. It was a big inspiration for me as it made me realize that anyone could make their own games and inspired me to try to learn to make games, a hobby I still have. I would truly be different without Five Nights at Freddy's, as weird as that may seem. Whether or not any of my suggestions end up on the list, I will still continue to listen and crack up at work whenever the Jaybird console gets brought up again. I will totally be a backer. Y'all are absolute gold. Spider Butts, Joe.
Thanks, you, Joel.
Joel. I said Joe. Joel.
It's okay. It's fine. I think he said howdy, Joel. When he said howdy, is that something that the Joel from Last of Us would say? Did he say howdy in the game?
What year does Last of Us take place? Because this could be younger Joel, you know?
Yeah. That's very possible. But in regards to what they said, I know that game mods and ROM hacks are definitely on the list already, and that is something we should really cover.
Yeah, you could really go deep on that.
That's something we can go really deep into. Sid Meier is a great idea. In fact, I've played I think I played Civ 4 and Civ 5, and I haven't played Civ 6 yet, but I'm a big fan of those games. Also, did he do Spore too?
That was Will Wright, the Sims guy, I think.
Oh, that was the Sims guy? Okay. What was the he did a space one. That
Alpha
was
Centauri.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
so
and
it
Pirates.
was not Spore.
Sid Meier's Pirates.
That's right, yeah. So there's a lot there, and I think it'd be great to do a little, like an episode that's like a little biography on Sid Meier, and then kind of get into the games. That would be really good.
Yeah, I love the Civ games. I have a signed copy of Civ 4 from Sid Meier and from Soren Johnson, the one of the lead designers there, who works somewhere else now. He just put something out though, like maybe he was working on Humankind, that Civilization style game. But yeah, I got a signed copy of that game when I helped a family friend out with their computer, and they were like, "Do you like Civilization?" And I was like, "Yeah, I like Civ 4." And they're like, "Do you want a signed copy of it? Because our nephew or something is Soren Johnson." And I was like, "Well, sure, that sounds great." So they gave me a free signed copy of Civ 4, signed both by Sid Meier and Soren Johnson. It's very cool.
That's really cool for helping a family out. That's sweet.
Yeah.
Also, Five Nights at Freddy's, boom, Halloween episodes. I just think instant Halloween episodes for us to cover that. That's right around the spooky time. Because everyone knows, you and I, not brave souls.
Nope. Not when it comes to spooky games.
We don't play a lot of spooky games. But during the Halloween hours, I get a little bit spooky, and I'm ready to try it. And I think this would be a fun one to play, like where we're playing together, like on a stream, you and I.
Yeah.
It'd be really scary. I love that. Okay. Yeah, also going from a dollar store cashier to like an indie game franchise that's really successful, that's kind of the dream.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And inspiring a Nicolas Cage movie. I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
Have you seen that movie?
No. What movie?
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm going to... The article's called Nicolas Cage next movie is a blatant Five Nights at Freddy's ripoff. It's called Willy's Wonderland is the name of it. Willy's Wonderland. And the story, I saw this movie. I'm going to talk about this for a second because this is amazing. Nicolas Cage, you don't know anything about his character. You just know he's hired to go into this Willy's Wonderland in a small town and clean it up. Whole town fully aware that this place is haunted by serial killers, right? But they're by animatronics. Nicolas Cage just straight up pounds energy drinks and kills animatronic monsters for an hour and a half. That's all he does. He has no dialogue. There's no dialogue from him. Other people talk. He doesn't say anything. Yeah. It's an amazing movie. I was blown away to the point where I kind of want to watch it again because it was that good. Yeah,
what's it called?
Was Willy's Wonderland.
Willy's Wonderland.
Definitely streaming on something. I forget where I watched it, but it is streaming.
I'm in.
And I was just like, man, this is some quality Nicolas Cage shenanigans.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah. So highly recommend Willy's Wonderland to people if you haven't watched it yet. Those are all great suggestions, so thank you, Joel. The next email. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
It's from Mason, and it's PS2? ? Is the subject line. Hey, Tyler and Mike, Mason here. It hasn't been too long since I found your podcast, but I have really enjoyed it. Thank you. Also, looking forward to playing Codex video game when that drops, especially the bowling section. I've recently gotten into picking up all of my old PS2 games that I used to play from when I was younger. I've also started getting some games that I never played. One game that I picked up that I had never even heard of is Shadow of the Colossus. Oh man, famous game here. It's an incredible game and absolutely blows my mind that this was on the PS2. This brings me to my question. Do each of you have a favorite PS2 game? And if it is well known, do you have any PS2 games you believe are hidden gems? Also, thanks. Also, maybe I've missed it, but have you thought about doing any merch like t-shirts or spider butt coffee mugs? Later, guys. That's from Mason.
All right. Thanks, Mason.
Thank you, Mason. Let's go to the PS2 question first.
PS2 question.
I don't think my favorite PS2 game is a hidden gem, but it's definitely not listed all the time. I love the original Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance for PlayStation 2. That's the game I played the most on the PlayStation 2.
Yeah, mine's also not a hidden gem. I love Metal Gear Solid 3 is probably my number one, but I love Final Fantasy 10, 10 to 11, and 12. I love the Ratchet and Clank series. I love the Jak and Daxter series. Not as much I wasn't as big on the Sly Cooper series, but I don't know if I have any like hidden gems on the PS2.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing that we played, like my brother and I played on PlayStation 2 was Gran Turismo because we had the wheel. And it was really fun to like pretend to drive a car as like we're like 12 or 13. So this is like the prime age when you're like super excited to like get your license and stuff, you know? And then I played a lot of Madden on this because my brother had the PS2. It was like he bought it with his own money. It was one of those things, you know? And then I had Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance because I just loved fantasy stuff, and I bought the game fully realizing I'm going to play it on my brother's system and hope I have the time, you know?
Yeah.
And that game kind of introduced me, one, to like the world of Dungeons and Dragons, but also top-down hack and slash RPG that wasn't Diablo, because I had played Diablo and Diablo 2 previously, but the Baldur's Gate Dark Alliance games are cool. I think they're really great. And I don't have as much experience with the second one as I do the first.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't beaten the second one. I've just played little snippets of it. But I think they just put a port of the second one on Steam that just came out. So that might be something I pick up. The new Dark Alliance game, by the way, didn't play it. It's on Game Pass. I don't think it was... I played a little bit of the tutorial. It just isn't the same game. It's very different. It's third person. Yeah, it's just... I heard it's fun to play with friends, but it's not the same as the top-down game that I grew up with.
Yeah. Probably my most obscure, and these are not super obscure games, but obscure PS2 loves are the games Amplitude and Frequency by Harmonix. Those are the games they made before they did Guitar Hero. And they're so much fun. They're just really good rhythm games with awesome 90s, early 2000s synth rave music, with some freeze pop in there because one of the members of freeze pop at the time worked at Harmonix.
Oh, nice.
So there you go. Those are probably my most obscure loves on PS2.
I can't forget Grand Theft Auto. I mean, Vice City is something I played constantly on PlayStation 2.
Vice City's probably my most played Grand Theft Auto on PS2.
Yeah. I don't think what's weird is I never played a lot of the other Jack and Daxter or Ratchet and Clank. I didn't play a lot of those. So my brother was also just really into Madden. So, Oh, you know what? I did play Medal of Honor Frontline on PlayStation 2. So that's one. And if you're like, Mike, are you looking at a list right now of PlayStation 2 games? You're darn tootin'. I am right now. 100%. Going through this list to see what I played. But
that's okay. I also love the Kingdom Hearts games. Not obscure, but I do love them. Especially the PS2 ones. They start getting real weird after the second one. But honestly, they're never not weird, but they go kind of off the rails after the second one.
Oh, yeah. Also, how could I forget the game I just mentioned earlier? I played Red Faction 2 on PlayStation 2.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of obscure, because Red Faction 1 was Xbox exclusive for a tiny bit of time, I think, and then it came out on PS2, and then the second game was just multi-platform. And I liked Red Faction 2. I actually picked it up again recently, and it was on Game Pass or something for free, and I just tried it, and I'm like, man, this is hard, and it did not age well, is how I would describe it.
That's too bad.
It was all about blowing stuff up, though. It was about blowing up walls and blowing up doors and just the whole... It was that time in first-person shooters where they're like, everything in the environment is explodable.
Yeah, when that was cool. The Bad Company... Remember Black? Did you ever play Black? That's a good more obscure PS2 game. That was on original Xbox also. I liked that one. That one was fun, but that's what its deal was, too. It was you can blow up walls. The whole place will blow up. And I'm like, oh, cool. It was so cool in the day, and now it's I don't know, I've heard it so much, and it never ended up actually being that cool to blow stuff up like that.
I would love to go make a chronological list of Mike and Tyler's hyped up video game mechanics, and this would be on that list, 100%. Yeah. The time where you could blow everything up. Battle Royale time.
Yep. When everything was an open world game.
Everything was zombies. Everything had to have zombies in it.
Everything was
so
zombies.
Many weird video game trends like that. In regards to merch and t-shirts and spider butt coffee mugs, we're working on some stuff right now. It's not ready yet, but we're working on some stuff, and that might be a part of it later on. So I'll just tease that. Is that a good tease, you think, Tyler?
Yeah, I think that's a good tease.
Good tease. So thank you for the email, Mason. That's a really good question. And also, I'm glad you finding Shadow of Colossus, because isn't that that's a game that's sought after. That's expensive, isn't it? Usually?
Yeah. No, I don't know if it is. I think it got a reprint at one point. I have a copy of it sitting on my shelf, and it was a greatest hits game. So it got.
If it was the greatest hits game, yeah, it's not going to be super expensive.
Yeah,
it's $45 on eBay.
Yeah, maybe if you're going for the non-greatest hits version, the original Black Label, it probably maybe goes for a little bit more. But it also got a PS3 remaster, and it got a full remake on PS4. So if you like the PS2 one, you should play the PS4 one, because it's full on, they redid everything.
Also, that was a one-off thing. The $45 bid is absurd. It goes for like between $5 and $10 on eBay for multiple PlayStation 2 copies. So, and there's also a bunch of PS4 copies on there. So yeah, it's not like Nintendo games. They're everywhere.
Yeah, they made a lot of that one.
But it's a great game. That's a game I wish I had played. I kind of know what happens in the story. Like I kind of got it spoiled for me on YouTube.
I think that's
one
okay
night.
though. Like it's more about the big boss fights anyway, in the atmosphere.
So thank you, Mason. It's a great email.
Thanks.
Would you like to read Shane's email?
I will read Shane's email. Hello, boys. I wanted to begin by saying thank you. The podcast kept me company. Gosh, I cannot speak today. The podcast kept me company during some recent dark and scary times at my wife's hospital bedside following a botched surgery. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Shane. The good news is she beat some very long odds and is now home safe. So seriously, thank you for the show. Hey, glad she's home safe.
Yeah,
That's
glad
awesome.
she's great. That's awesome. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah. I was listening to a Nintendo podcast last week and heard a great fan-submitted question. Because I am as unoriginal as they come, I decided to ask the same question here. If the person who asked this question on the Nintendo podcast is listening, I apologize for my wretched thievery, but it was a good question. Anyway, down to business. What game, or perhaps even a series of games, did you not like when you started it, but really enjoyed by the time it was over? Alternatively, have you ever enjoyed a game at the start but didn't like it by the time it ended? For me, I was very underwhelmed by both Dying Light 1 and Dying Light 2 for several hours. However, I kept pushing forward. Once I got it, I enjoyed them immensely. In fact, Dying Light 1 became one of my favorite spooky games ever. Uncharted and BioShock. I didn't play these series as they released. Rather, I burned through the whole collection all at once. I think that's how I was able to stick with them. Uncharted 4 saved the entire series for me. I didn't care for the first two games, thought the third was just okay, and loved the fourth one. Same for the BioShock trilogy. Infinite saved the whole thing, and now I'm very much looking forward to the fourth installment. If I had to make a choice going the other way when I ended up not liking a game that I initially enjoyed, I'd have to go with Metroid Dread. However, before you burn me at the stake, just know that I fully 100% admit my feelings toward the game are due to my own inability to progress. I've been stuck near the end of the game on boss experiment number Z57 for months. I made dozens upon dozens of attempts, watched strategy videos, tried to cheese my way past it, set the game to rookie mode, and still can't defeat the stupid thing. So I had to walk away, and it was not easy for me to do that. Anyways, do you guys have any similar stories? I hope you're both well. Keep up the good work. Spider Badunkadonks, Shane. P.S. Tyler, are you excited to play Fire Emblem Warriors 3, hopes? Yes, just like I was excited to play Fire Emblem 3, houses.
Fire Emblem 3, hopes. It's a very confusing naming system.
Yeah.
All right, so game that we didn't like at first, but stuck with it. And I haven't beaten the game, but The Witcher 3 has grown on me. It's true. I'm taking a break because I don't have the time to commit to it right now, but I have been playing that game on and off. It's grown on me, and I like it. Are you happy, Mike in Philadelphia? Are you happy? I don't know if they even still listen to the podcast, but I like to just yell at them like they do.
Hopefully they do.
Mostly because they're an opposing Mike. You know, just the tale of two Mikes here. One in Philadelphia, one in Seattle. One of them loves The Witcher 3. The other one is trying so hard to beat it, but runs out of time.
Yeah. For me, so like games that I didn't like but then ended up liking later, I don't think I have any stories that I can say off the top of my head, because usually when I don't like a game, I just kind of stop and I don't give it the chance it needs. But you and I were talking about Borderlands 3 and how it was like kind of fun at first. Maybe this is an example of a series, because I love the first two Borderlands games. I didn't play pre-sequel, but then Borderlands 3 was fun for a little while, and then I kind of fell off and I just stopped caring about it.
Yeah, and I beat Borderlands 3, and it was not worth all that time beating it. It was just kind of like, oh, it's over. Roll credits.
Yeah.
Cool. Neat. And I don't know if it's because I didn't have my group of friends with me to play at that time, or I had played the pre-sequel and it kind of put a bad taste in my mouth, because the pre-sequel was fine. Like, these are not bad games by any means.
Yeah.
It's just, they didn't grip me like Borderlands 2 did.
Yeah.
And that's what got to me, I think.
Yeah. I guess I do have one, World of Final Fantasy. I was not a huge fan of at the beginning. And then I started to get into it, and then I kind of put it down for a while on PS4, and then it came out on Switch, and so I bought it again on Switch, and I just devoured the whole thing. I played through it all the way, except to the final boss, because the final boss is like takes so long, and I got killed by some cheap thing right at the end before I was about to beat it, and I was like, nope, I'm looking up the ending on YouTube. I beat this game. I'm not taking this BS right now. So I didn't technically finish it, but that one was good. That one that I stuck with.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of JRPGs to me start slow and then I get really into them. That's was my pattern with especially like I mean even games like Pokemon. Sometimes it's like slow to start and I'm like I love Pokemon, but why does this feel weird? And then you get into like 2 or 3 gyms in, you're like, oh yeah, I remember now why I love these games, you know.
Yeah, the Persona games are often like that too, because you're starting off like what you know is going to be 100+ hour journey, but with characters you don't know yet. And so you're just like, I don't know who any of these people are. I don't know why I should care. And then by you're 85 hours in and like everything's getting really epic and you're like really attached to these characters. And when the game's over, it's like, oh, I'm so sad now because these are my friends. And now I can't see my friends anymore. So I was really happy when Strikers came out.
You could see your friends again.
I could see my friends again. I got to see them and finish that game finally. That one took me a while to finish. That one is another one I'm glad I stuck with because it was kind of rough at the beginning because it's a totally different battle system.
You were on a real Persona kick for a while there.
Yeah.
Remember. And did you stop in the middle of 4?
I've picked up and put down 4 several times. I probably have a 50-hour in save on PS2 on Persona 4 on the original, PS2 version. And then I've probably put 5 or 6 hours in on Steam in a couple of different playthroughs, and I still haven't managed to keep going on it. I just have to, like, eventually it will click, and I just have to keep kind of trying at it. I would have kept playing Persona 4 this time, except I've been playing Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which we'll talk about when we start talking about what we've been playing. But spoilers, I love that game.
Yeah, you're loving it. I love that you found a new one. That's good. A rare Tyler playing a game when it comes out also.
Yeah, that's true. Exciting. I don't play very many games as soon as they come out.
That's cool. Well, let's go on to our last 2 emails here. The first one is from Dave C. And it says, Mailbag 8/7/2022. I love a good, a real good archival date. I'm into that. That's good for me. And I'm not being sarcastic. I really name everything with the name and the date in my Google Drive. It's kind of upsetting. Okay. Greetings, guys. Each of you can invite one celebrity to make up your party of 4 for an evening of gaming. Couch multiplayer or over the internet, or maybe board games thrown in along with video games. The choice is yours.
Oh, man.
Who are each of you inviting, and what game/games are on the docket for your party of 4?
I'm bringing
Cheers,
Ice-T, and we're playing
Dave
Destiny
C.
2.
Oh,
sorry,
my gosh.
I didn't let you finish the...
No, you know what? I didn't know what to pick, and that's a really great idea.
We're both bringing Ice-T.
Because Ice-T plays Destiny 2.
He does,
I would say I'm going to bring... If we're playing Destiny 2, I'm going to bring Henry Cavill, because I think he probably plays it already.
Yeah, but we'd just be playing Gambit if we only had 4.
That's a good point.
We need a raid team.
Dave, can we get 2 more celebrities so we can have a raid team?
Yeah, 2 more celebrities for our Destiny raid team.
If I was going to pick a celebrity that I wanted to, like... I've been trying to think of a celebrity that I think is pure and good and would be fun to hang out with.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I have someone. I feel like I have someone on the tip of my tongue, and I can't think of who it is that I would love to just hang out with. And I was thinking Left 4 Dead. That's the game I was thinking.
Oh, Left 4 Dead would be good. I play Left 4 Dead with Ice-T also.
Yeah. I mean, Ice-T's probably played Left 4 Dead. Ice-T plays a lot of games is what it sounds like.
I think
I'm
he does.
into that. Henry Cavill I picked because he was a gamer, but I don't know what's in The Witcher's heart, if you would want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to say, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do Matthew Berry from What We Do in the Shadows because I think it would be funny. Have you seen that show?
No, but he's also in the IT crowd, right?
Yeah, and he's one of my new favorite people to watch do anything on television, and he just does it so well, and it's so funny to me, and I would love that. Yeah. So I would say Matthew Berry or Henry Cavill. I can't decide. These questions where we have to pick one is really hard for me to do.
Yeah.
Because I think of The Rock, Neil deGrasse Tyson. There's so many people that I would want to play video games with, specifically Left 4 Dead.
Mm-hmm.
Have Neil deGrasse Tyson question the bullet physics of Left 4 Dead. He would do that, I think. But yeah, Ice-T is a good choice because you just know he's good at video games. That's why you don't want to choose someone that's not good.
Right.
Know?
I think we could beat a Destiny raid
good.
if we had Ice-T in our fire team.
I agree with you. Yeah. I 100% agree with you. All right. Speaking of Ice and Destiny, they put the there's this person on YouTube. I forget it's like Zach and then like 2 or 3 letters and numbers. And he puts out like history Destiny videos about like things that have happened in the past. History.
Yeah.
I just described history to everybody, but that's fine. And he just did one on Icebreaker, which is my favorite gun in Destiny 1, and they'll never bring it back in Destiny 2 because it's just super cheap. But I was super excited to see him do a video on Icebreaker. I still need to watch it, but that's my gun. And when you said Ice-T in Destiny,
created ammo like when it was holstered or something.
Yeah, not even when it's holstered. Like you could have it out and it wouldn't take special ammo. You can't pick up ammo for Icebreaker. It would just charge over like a 2 or 3 second timer. You get 1 bullet, 2 bullets, and it would charge up to 6. So it was the special gun that technically would never run out of special.
Wow.
Which is what's cool about it. But the problem is it also made it so many boss encounters were just trivial if you had this gun.
Because you could just sit in a corner and cheese it while getting infinite ammo, basically, right?
Exactly. I love Icebreaker so much, and it makes me sad that it's gone and it will never come back because it's like Whisper of the Worm when it was super good. Just filling up ammo. It's broken,
Yep.
All right. I think we're taking Ice-T and Matthew Berry and we're playing Destiny 2. Sounds good.
Perfect. Last email here.
Yep. From Sam.
Its subject is game mechanics. Hey, historians. Hope all is well. This may be a long message, but I'm not sorry. I started the podcast about a year ago when I had a half-hour commute to work, and I fell off after changing jobs. About a month ago, I started another job that has me on the road all day, so I've powered through about 150 episodes and am finally caught up. In your discussion episode about game mechanics, you asked listeners about a moment that was just made incredible because of music. And in the following episode, Mo mentioned in an email that Bethesda walking sims are a bit annoying. Tying in both things, I think Fallout New Vegas had such an incredible soundtrack that it made it really easy to just walk aimlessly around the Mojave, creating an incredible game where I think we would otherwise have had a really mediocre walking sim. This leads to a question I have for you guys. Can you think of any other games that would have been mediocre at best if not for one extremely awesome redeeming quality? You guys are awesome. I really love the podcast, and I'm happy I'm finally almost caught up. Spider Butts, Sam. Dang, a game that was made awesome by one awesome redeeming quality.
Honestly, I look at the first Titanfall. I know that's on the brain, but if that didn't have the mechanic of like mechs and was just like a parkour shooter, I don't think it would have done as well. Yeah,
you're probably right.
There's a lot of games like this, I feel like, too, that are just like would have just been run of the mill,
Yeah, I think Spider-Man 2, the movie game on PS2 and Xbox, and PSP, I think is sort of like this too, with the open world New York. That was all really cool. Like open world was like not exactly a new thing that by then, because Grand Theft Auto had already sort of made that popular. The like fighting mechanics in that game are like fine, they're sort of mediocre, but the web swinging in Spider-Man 2 makes that game so much fun. So I think that's I think without the web swinging functionality of like the way it does inertia and stuff that they never really replicated again until the latest Spider-Man game. I think that's a good example of a game that like one redeeming quality makes that game so much fun.
Yeah, I even think about a game like Grand Theft Auto, where if you don't have those radio stations, it doesn't feel like you're really in the city anymore. If you're just driving silently, it feels off.
Yeah.
I agree. Also, I mean, Red Dead Redemption, like if you don't have music in the background, it can get a little tedious sometimes if you're just riding your horse around. I think of Mexico when you go to Mexico, and that's the moment.
Too. Fallout 3 also has a really good soundtrack similar to the soundtrack in New Vegas.
Three Dog? Oh, man.
Oh!
Gotta love Three Dog. Also, New Vegas is one of those games that I need to go back to because I only beat it once and I definitely like kind of sped through it because been playing a lot of Fallout games and I was kind of over it.
Yeah.
And I need to go back and just really spend some time in New Vegas.
Yeah, it's enhanced too. If you play it on Xbox, it's on Xbox One. Maybe you have to get an Xbox One X, but it's like enhanced at 4K and maybe 60 frames per second. Or you could just play it on your PC where you can also hit 4K 60 really easily on garbage hardware. So
I think I would do that for sure if that's the case. I can't do 4K on my monitor, but I would hit 1080p easily with that, so it would look fine.
And it would run at like 10,000 frames a second.
It'd be perfect. Oh, man. Great question, though. Really good question. Mm-hmm. Really good questions in general today.
Yeah.
Big fan of it. Well, before we go, what you been playing, Tyler?
Well, I talked about it earlier. Xenoblade Chronicles 3. I am 8.5 hours in so far. Been taking my time with it. Really enjoying it. It's constantly piling on new systems in the battle system, but they never really feel overwhelming because of the way they I'm still 8.5 hours in and they're still like sort of teaching me about these things. So I've been having a lot of fun with that. There are a few mechanics that it sort of introduces you to and then doesn't really let you use again for a little while, which is kind of frustrating. But I've just now unlocked the ability to start changing around the classes of my characters and like crafting gems and like doing all there's like so much customization that can happen with the characters. And I'm really glad they don't just like dump it all on you and say, here, figure it out. They like really, really carefully dole out the tutorials and stuff. It's probably really frustrating. Like if you play it a second time, like if you've already played it before, you just wish you could do those systems. Maybe it has like a new game plus functionality that will like let you just start the game over, but without all the tutorials and with everything unlocked in the battle system. That would be pretty sweet. But yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with that. That's kind of it besides the standards, League of Legends, Destiny 2.
The usual ongoing games.
Yeah, that's about it, I think. What have you been playing?
Well, I beat Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus, which was good.
Nice.
I did end up doing all the Uber Commander stuff, and boy, I got to tell you, it really wasn't worth it. I shouldn't have done it. It was like the last unlockable secret mission doesn't even really add story. It's just a final person, and it just it's weird. Yeah, it wasn't worth it. But good game still. Loved the story. Really fun. Thought it was ridiculous, which is really what it was. There's a scene in particular on the last mission, or the second to last mission, technically, where your like BJ Blazkowicz's pregnant girlfriend, fiance Anya, does something, and if it's inappropriate for the podcast, but it's very funny, and I'll tell you off there, Tyler. But it was very action movie and ridiculous, so that's fun. I did then find that Wolfenstein: The Old Blood was recently put on Game Pass, and since I'm kind of on a Wolfenstein kick, I booted that up and got that installed. And Wolfenstein Old Blood is really cool because it is straight up kind of a remake of the older Wolfenstein games. So you are going to Castle Wolfenstein and you're like going through the castle, which is really cool.
That's
cool.
Like
redone. Yeah. And it's really fun. I also have picked up Black Mesa again because I started playing that and I got like halfway through the game and I stopped. And I stopped at the questionable ethics level, which is a great level with the science experiments and stuff. Mm-hmm. Wonderful thing. So I'm glad I get back into that again. And then once those two are done, I plan to invest my time back into The Witcher 3 because I do miss it. I did this whole quest with like killing a witch spirit thing and it was really fun. And now I want to like, I've been missing it. I've been jonesing for killing some werewolves and stuff. But yeah, it's been fun.
I'm so glad that game has like, you've stuck it out and gotten into it. I still need to give it enough of a chance to do that, but I'm glad that it's working for you.
It's working for me. It's very daunting, but it's definitely a game that I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to play it for 8 to 10 hours, get super into it, and then I might just pull back for a little bit, play some other games, and then go back to it again. And if I beat it that way, it's totally fine.
Yep.
That's fun. The other games I've been playing that are like ongoing, I've dropped away from like Valorant because it's just so intense. But you got me into Wild Rift on phones, and I've never been into a phone game. And I'm like playing this every day on my phone.
It's fun. It's nice to just quickly play.
When like I have a YouTube video going on and I'm just chilling and I'm like, I feel like just like multitasking a little bit here. I just play a little Wild Rift game and it's silly and it's simple and it's fun. Yeah. And if you know anything about League of Legends, you can like destroy because a lot of people don't. So it's fun. But yeah, that's kind of what I've been playing. I think that's pretty much it for the episode today. So things you can always do if you want to support our podcast. You can tell your friends about us. That's really helpful. You can rate and review and subscribe to us wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also email us at codexhistorypodcast@gmail.com. If you want to join our Discord server, you can do so through that email or go to my Twitter profile at Mecoletta, MECOLETTA. Click on the banner, I guess it is a banner, like the pinned tweet at the top of my page. And then that's an invite link that never expires. If you want to talk to Tyler about how much fun Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is, he's on Twitter as well, at SneakerElfELPH.
True.
And I think that's it for the day. Do you want to say goodbye to everyone, Tyler?
Goodbye, everybody.